Humans have been making art for, well, as long as there have been humans. Archaeologists have dated this cave painting to 45,000 years ago. That means it was from BCE 42,977. I think it was late April. Since these early paintings, people have developed new types of art as well. Architecture, sculpture, music, literature, performance, and most recently cinema, along with painting, together are considered the 7 arts. But what I'm here to ask today is, what if there is actually an 8th art, and one that we're all familiar with already? One that takes these traditional arts and blends them together into something entirely new and fresh. One that doesn't paint on cave walls, but actually is painted on the canvas of our minds, and whose brushstrokes, notes, and shapes are both experienced and created together in unison between those who are simultaneously both the artist and the audience. Hi everyone, I'm Michael from Night Noon Games, and today we're going to talk about how I see tabletop role-playing games as being the 8th art. TTRPGs are generally played with a group of 3 to 6 people, with one leading the narrative as the game master, and the others participating as players. Together they collaborate to build a world and to tell a story. Before we dive into why TTRPGs are the 8th art, let's talk about the first 7 arts. The original 6, which have been around in one form or another since antiquity, are architecture, the design and construction of buildings; sculpture, which is creating 3-dimensional art by molding, carving, modeling, or otherwise assembling materials; painting, which is creating an image by applying pigment to a surface; music, which is the art of arranging sounds in time to create a composition; literature, which are written works, including both prose and poetry; and performance, which is the movement of the body, often combined with speaking and singing. How about the 7th art? Well, in 1911, just 26 years after the first public screening by the Lumiere brothers, the film theoretician Riccardo Canuto dubbed cinema as the 7th art. This art is an amalgam of many of the other arts, but is unique in that it captures them in the form of moving images. Now, all of these 7 arts are different, of course, but they all share some key characteristics. These include creative expression, engagement with an audience, aesthetic value, and historical framework and zeitgeist. These are traits that TTRPGs share as well. So let's take a look at them. With creative expression, the author of the work is able to express their own emotions and ideas. In a tabletop role-playing game, this is generally led by the GM, who directs the overall narrative, but they also play off and react to the players as the players add their own threads to the story. And thus it changes the work of art, for everyone involved. Engagement with the audience. This is if a work invokes feelings while being experienced by an audience, even if those feelings are that of indifference. As both creators and the audience, playing RPGs runs the gamut of emotions. I've seen people laugh, cry, shout, be afraid, and celebrate while playing a TTRPG. And I'm sure you have too. Aesthetic value. Now that is when the creator is able to assemble the work in a way that shows some level of intentionality. In TTRPGs, each participant in the game contributes to the aesthetic value while playing. The GM controls the overall story, of course, but the players all intentionally develop their own characters and their own storylines, and they all role-play their characters in unique ways. And again, this alters the work as a whole. And finally, historical framework and zeitgeist. Now this means that each piece of art doesn't just stand alone on its own. It's actually an evolution of all of the works that have come before it in that genre of art. And as for the zeitgeist part, that means that not only is this derivative from works that have come before it, but it also is a reflection of the moment which the art is created in. RPGs can trace their roots back to a couple of guys in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and the release of Dungeons & Dragons in 1974. D&D itself was birthed from tabletop war games, and those go back centuries. So every time that we sit down to play a TTRPG today, we can trace the roots of that down that lineage. And every new game that's released, that's going to be a product of the time in which it was released in. And then on a more micro level, when you're looking at a work of art, being an individual session or a campaign that people are playing around a table, that art is also a reflection of the players at the table and what's going on in their lives and even what's going on with them that specific day. Now, as you can see, TTRPGs aren't just a game that you sit around and play with your friends, but they are a profound form of artistic expression that not only embodies the essence of the 7 arts, but has developed into a totally unique art unto itself. Tabletop role-playing games are art, while at the same time transcending art. They're not something that you hear or read or watch or see, but it's an art that you experience while you simultaneously participate in its creation. By recognizing it as the 8th art, we're not only acknowledging that, well, it is art, but also celebrating the imagination and collaboration and boundless potential of collaborative storytelling within the framework of a game. The next time you get together with your friends, some dice, some character sheets, and bountiful snacks, remind yourself that you're not just playing a game, but that you're creating art together. Art that can rival any of the other 7 forms. Art that is shaped by those who are experiencing it as much as by those who are creating it. And, at the end of the day, realize that what you're doing is really kind of extraordinary. So, what do you think? Do you feel like you're making art with friends when you're playing a TTRPG? Let me know down in the comments below. If you don't know which TTRPG to play next, let me suggest Blades and Heart. That's my new fantasy hack of lasers and feelings. The Kickstarter for it just wrapped up last month, and I'm really excited to have it out there in the world. So, you can find a link to Blades and Heart down in the description below. Oh, and by the way, it's just $1. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you want to see more like it, and you can find links down below to subscribe to my newsletter, as well as follow me on Instagram. Until our next adventure, stay inspired and keep those dice rolling. Thanks for watching.